We push through the night. Gotta come up with a game plan in the morning, but right now I don't see a clear way forward.
We're off to Home Hardware to get some wood for the Kamotiks and a few other things. And then we got to bring them to the garage where we're building the Kamotiks. Brent's getting in tomorrow. I've got pretty much everything unpacked. I got to get a few more miles on the machine today, see how that goes. But we're making progress. We're making really good progress. God, I'm getting nervous and excited.
1,000 kilometers. So you need straight wood. Straight wood, that's right. Yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out to these two guys. They went completely above and beyond to help Brent and I out when we were in Yellowknife. They gave us a place to stay, a truck, and just all around were incredibly helpful. Also, another very fine gentleman by the name of Robbie loaned us his garage along with tools and a trailer to help with the Kamotik build. We genuinely could not have done the trip without these folks.
Okay, so when I said I had extra stuff coming into Yellowknife, this is what I was talking about. Let's open it up. This is insane. It's got a triangle reward card that I will never use. I love it when they ship stuff together. The amount of waste in all of this stuff is nothing short of disgusting. All the packaging, all the plastic, I hate it. SanDisk Extreme Pro 128 gig. This is like crazy unboxing video. It's like unbox therapy, expedition style. Unbox therapy, expedition style, except no one's sending me any of this shit. It's all my own money. Gun mount, barrel mount for the GoPro. This is Aquamira water treatment. This stuff's great. Used it in Alaska a ton. This is a little like 15-watt reptile heating pad that you put in your reptile's tank and it just sits on it like a hot, warm rock kind of thing. And I'm gonna put it in my charging case to keep everything warm in there when I'm charging the batteries. Pulse oximeter, cool. 2 Outward Bound Wilderness First Aid books. In case we need to read up while someone's bleeding out. There's a little bit of literature that we can read to pass the time. We are familiar with all this stuff, but it's never a bad thing just to have some of this information. Also just to study up on between expeditions. This isn't necessarily for now. I just thought it was worthwhile having a couple for reference. We're getting to the good stuff. Okay, snow anchors. You know how they work. Maybe you don't, I'll show you. These can work like a normal tent peg. So they just go in the ground like this and you tie off here, or you can tie in the middle or here or anywhere. And then you put them in the snow like this, like buried in the snow, and they're pulling this way and it anchors you in the snow, hence the name. Aw, it's a letter from my mom. This is just like stuff from back home, which I didn't bring up with me. Nice neck tube there. This, ooh, if I ever need to rob a bank, which honestly, I'm a little short on cash now, so this might come in handy very soon. This stuff is cool. Blast bandage. If you get blasted, this is what you need. This is what you need to use. This is just like a quick clot. It's got some quick clot treatment. It's this big bandage kind of thing, and if you get a big injury somewhere, put it on. Nice. Okay, tourniquet. These are the right style, but I can see right now that they are plastic. I hope in the time of need these don't break in the cold. Okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Oh, my driver's license. Need to not throw this out. Story behind this, I bought this off Kijiji in Toronto, and my good friend, his name's Bros, went and met up with the guy. It just was like sort of a shit show. He ended up having to spend half the day messing around with this guy, and then the guy didn't have the camera to test it out, and he had to go get the camera, and my friend had to wait, and it was like a 4-hour ordeal for him. Anyways, it was like such a huge help for him to do that. And we ended up with this. If there's a brick inside, I'm gonna laugh. Sweet baby Jesus. Oh my God. That's crazy. Clearly compensating for a small. Anyways, this is all the extra stuff that I shipped here. It's not the extra stuff that I have to go buy. There's still a bit of that. Oh, and I also got, I'm gonna show you guys one more thing. This thing is really big. Fully insulated ice fishing shelter. In an emergency, nice to be able to do that instead of having to go around with a tent with poles and all that kind of stuff. Couple of downsides. One, it stands 7.5 feet high at the middle. Not ideal for the high winds. Brent just landed. He flew over Cook, so he's here early. Going to pick him up at the airport.
How's it going, buddy?
I got you all set up with wheels and everything.
All set up, man.
Nice.
Got quite a bit of stuff, eh? You ended up with an extra piece?
Yeah.
Oh, you brought the cooler for food.
Yeah.
Nice.
This one was carry-on, so 5 plus that.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Carry-ons. Yeah,
Cool.
like
Brent, tell us about yours. You're doing a bit more of a shallow angle, eh?
Yep, so I took this template here, and for me, I felt that it was too aggressive. It was too high.
Right.
Which is good for some people in certain situations. It's good for traveling through rough ice. I think this sled here, the template that we have, is from polar bear hunting sled. So they go through a lot of rough ice. So mine is taking a lower profile. I do the polar bear hunting stuff, but I plan to be a little more careful. The reason I'm dropping my profile here, the nose lower, is I want to give more strength to the front end here. The business end is where you hit your bumps and rocks and ice first.
To illustrate what Brent is talking about here, the profile at the front of your Kamotik affects how it handles different types of terrain. A steeper, taller profile can get over larger obstacles such as chunks of ice, but will impact bumps harder as the slope is less gradual. Brent is opting for a lower profile, which can't get over tall obstacles as easily, but it'll glide over the bumps better at higher speed, meaning that it's less likely to break in the long run.
I drilled the holes for tying the napus on. They're at 3 different heights, just so we don't have a line of holes running down the same grain along the wood. These ones at the back, these are gonna be 2x6. And they're spaced 7 inches, just because that's where we're loading up the fuel drum, and it's going to be quite a bit of weight back there. All the ones in the middle are spaced at 12 inches, except for these at the front, which are spaced at 7 inches again, just for a bit more, additional structure up front kind of thing. I also finished off the profile here on one, so you can see this. We made this cut, a bit of a diagonal cut, just to here, and then this was the piece that we took from the bottom, shaped up, and that's what the profile is going to look like when it's all done. So we'll screw in the top there, and then we're going to sheet the side of this with 5/8 plywood, and we're off to the races. This is all going to get smoothed out with a planer, but it's looking good so far.
is about 12:15, 12:30. And we just finished up for the day. We got all the beams done, which is sweet. So we got plywood. You see, we got plywood on the one side here. Got all the holes drilled, beveled, all that good stuff. We got the shape nice right up front. Tomorrow we're going to plane this edge here and the bottom. There's a few little kind of imperfections along here. We'll plane that down so it's nice and flat, especially the bottom, which we're putting the metal runners on, and the top here where the napus go, just so it's nice and flat. Here's one of Brent's here on the inside. So you can see the plywood's on the outside here. And then we got our 2x12 here. And then on the inside, we're just gonna put a little kind of like a ledge for the napus to sit on. Just a 2x4 that's gonna run all the way down kind of thing, just to provide a little bit more stability there when the napus are tied on. Stop the beams from kind of tipping over there or whatever as we're driving. Then we gotta do a few cuts at the back. These are gonna get cut a little bit kind of diagonally here, and then we'll slope this out just so you can reverse a little bit if need be, if you get these stuck or something like that. We'll just make this shape a little bit conducive to actually moving in that direction. So other than that, these are done, and should have them tied up by tomorrow, I think?
I hope so, yeah.
That's the goal.
All of them tied tomorrow at least, yeah.
I'm gonna put some urethane on at least these, maybe even the napus as well. And I'm gonna paint mine black. See how it looks. So we got these things standing. First napkin's on in the back here. Brent, can you walk us through quickly what we did here?
Yeah, so for this first knuckle here, we made a measurement on the outside edge here at, what was it, 2.5 inches?
2.5 inches, yeah.
So we kept that measurement in mind when we went over to the front. We wanted to toe that in about 3/4 of an inch. And we have a support down here that keeps things
Extra 2x4 down there.
yeah, keeps things in place with all these forces coming in from all angles there. So
I just tied these for the first time. You gotta put a lot of force on them, but they're tight.
yeah,
And we use this tarred rope, and you can just crank on it, and it's good. And this thing's like incredibly solid now, but it's got ever so slight amount of play, which is what you want, right? Like it's,
you want a little bit of movement
you need some play. So when this thing's riding over rocks and drifts and stuff, it's got a little bit of flex to it. Now we just do this 14 more times. We're gonna start at the front, or continue at the front there, just to get this kind of squared out, and then do the 13 in the middle.
Another thing I wanted to add was we have a slight angle on these beams because we shaved off a little bit of a corner on the edge of these beams here. That's to give us a little bit of a football player stance there, so that all these sideways forces when you're turning, when you do a hard turn, it will actually go straight and not in. So that's basically the idea behind that.
Squatted it down a little bit. Bit of camber on these old beams here. It's looking good. And yeah, next steps, like I said, get it squared out, and then probably do yours, eh?
Yes,
maybe,
sir.
and then finish these off tomorrow. I think that's the plan. are basically done the sleds. This is mine. Brent's is over here. Notice I painted mine. This is like objectively kind of pointless. We urethane the beams, so that's pretty much gonna provide all the protection that is necessary. The paint was just because it looks friggin' cool, and I thought I had some extra time to kill. I didn't, actually. I didn't have any extra time to kill. These took us 3 days, over 3 days, instead of the 2 which we had budgeted for. So we're behind schedule. Just finishing up the steel here. So the purpose of this is down here, you see this join, which is the top of the beam. If you remember, we cut this section out and then we put it up here and shaped the front end kind of thing. This, on mine, it's epoxied, but you know, that's not, you wouldn't necessarily always do that. It's really just reinforced by the plywood that's on the other side, this plywood. So what these do, this one goes from the top, this one goes from the bottom, and it really just keeps these 2 pieces of wood tight together across that join here, just to make everything a little bit more secure. More things here. This first snapu is a 2x6, and it's also reinforced with a 2x4 underneath to provide, you know, a lot more strength actually. Also, because it's on the corner like this, and at the back there where we have another 2x4 reinforcing, those are your 4 corners of the sled. And when you run, there's a rope that you'll see that we run under here. We put Essex on for cargo. When you run that around and tighten it up, the tendency is for that to hold the corners in. So this 2x4 constrains that movement by providing a surface that the beam is gonna push against on either side when that rope is tightened. What you might often do on a sled of this size is use 2x6 napus for the whole thing, but we went with 2x4. They are more or less done. We've just got to put the steel runners on them. These get put on outside because there's some thermal expansion and contraction that goes on. So they're 1/4 inch thick. So if you put them on inside and you go outside and they shrink, then no bueno. It's a big long section too, right? It's like a 20-foot section. So there's a non-insignificant amount of thermal contraction that will happen over that entire length when you move it outside. So we do those outside. We're ready to do that now. Move everything out there. And yeah, try this again. So we paid about 400 bucks for these to get bent up. We did the profiles and everything and sent them to the supplier there so they could kind of get them on for us. And really they just did this one radius and that's it. And the radius is not even perfect. So we spent 400 bucks for them to do this in one bend, and it's not all that great. So now we're running it over with the truck, which is fast and cheap and easy. And we're gonna get a better product than what we paid $400 for. So we should go, boys. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow, 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 slow. More. Stop. Currently 10:30 at night, the day before we're supposed to leave. We were aiming to get out tomorrow morning, like as of a couple of days ago. Truly, we were aiming to get out like 3 days ago. The Kamotik build took way longer than anticipated, and a few other things. A whole bunch of other stuff came up. Maybe 25% of our gear is final packed right now, and everything else is just laying out. So we're gonna put like 5 or 6 hours into that tonight, and hopefully that gets us to a point where we can load the Kamotiks tomorrow. There's still a lot of little things that we gotta do, and a lot of big things. That the main big thing being packing all of our gear into its final configuration and getting it ready to load up. Right now I'm working on the first aid kit. So this is everything. This is all the stuff that I showed before. Essentially what we're gonna do is gonna have this in one Kamotik, this in the other Kamotik, and then
one of these in each snowmobile. And the idea is this is gonna have your like crazy emergency stuff, like your tourniquets and all that kind of stuff if someone gets shot or whatever, or anything. Like if someone gets in a serious accident, this is gonna have everything that we need in it. So if we go out on day trips and stuff, this will still be with us. And then everything in here is gonna be sort of like when you get back to camp and you need to make sure the person is okay, sort of in a little bit of the longer term. That's what I need to split up right now. So yeah. Holy shit, we're done. Everything's cleaned up, we're packed. Time to get the f out of here. Kamotik's all loaded up. That's all the gear right there. We are ready to go. We haven't made too much progress and we're having a lot of trouble getting these Kamotiks up these hills. There's portages between the lakes on the ice road and it's real gravelly, so we're trying to haul these things. They weigh like 1,200 pounds or something like that or more, haul them up a friggin' incline that's all super rough gravel, and we're finding it challenging. So we're actually just backing this one out right now with my machine, and we're gonna try and get some more speed with it. My Kamotik's back there and ready to go, but definitely presenting a bit of a problem. New strategy. Got both machines hooked up. Gonna try and drag this back down the hill. We made a run for it and no luck. So drag her back down the hill and then connect both machines to the bottom and try and get some speed and make it up the hill here.
We pushed through the night. It's morning now. We plan to do the ice road in 2 days. I don't know if we can do it in 2 weeks like this. Gotta come up with a game plan in the morning, but right now I don't see a clear way forward.